you don't have everything. You learn to do a lot with a little, and
Right.
get very creative. Our troubles were kids and let me hurry up before the street lighting before, kind of like we would do black and gold, and I was playing with the freshmen, kind of joke or whatever, but I did. But I was just like, come on, I want you to go for this, pushing me because they see.
On it, what's going on? What's up, my God Talk people, man? How y'all feeling today, man? I hope y'all feeling good, man. We back with another episode, man. Episode 15. Episode 15, and I'm here with a special guest, and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Adrian Ross, right here, born, rooted in Hobbs, New Mexico. Happy to be number 15. I didn't know it's the 15th.
Yeah, yes. And I don't like to take too much time, y'all. We're gonna dive straight into it. So if you don't mind talking to me and talking to them, how'd you grow up and how was your living arrangements growing up?
Okay, so just to go off of what I just said, right here, rooted in Hobbs. If you don't know a little bit of the background from it, we're known for basketball and oil. I fell on the side of basketball, that God had given me a talent. So a lot of that's going to go back to that. But growing up, before I even knew I wanted to pick up a basketball, and if I could do something with it, if I did, I grew up single family household with my mother. Shout out to her, Tammy Ross, Mama Ross. But she was holding it down, and I can go back and forth when I go back, and I can just look back and kind of see what we didn't have, and I'm just amazed by how much we didn't know. We grew up like a single family household. You don't have everything. You learn to do a lot with a little. And get very creative. And as I've grown up, I got to see I actually am. So being under the roof with while she's working 1, 2, sometimes 3 jobs, I'm in the house. You know the rules. Don't open the door for nobody. Don't go outside till I get home. These rules, but what me, my brother, and my sister would be doing, we'd be playing games. We would be making things up, making up dances. Creating that culture, and that's kind of what I was used to. And then I liked it too because you're at the apartment. So when that time does come where you can go outside, Booker T. Washington is right there across the street.
Yeah.
And so you got the huge soccer field. That was a big deal to me, to catch games, to play, to have that park, to have access to Booker T, to have other kids that are also creative, that are doing the same thing. That how do we always know, get on the same page? And I say this mostly for the Black community because I'm still surprised, like how there could be no message. Like, how do we all know these dances? How do we all know these tricks? How do we all know? So in that midst, like, we were figuring it out. I grew up happy, grew up very happy to be in that environment. It was a lot of love. Like I mentioned, a lot of love. My mom had a lot of respect, So in return, we're getting that too, she's teaching us how to respect people, just to grow up and be respectable adults, but then also too, it's just the standard that she had set. I think she knew me, my brother, and my sister very well individually. So there was a carve where I can be creative, or the middle child, or Ronald is the leader of the house, and the one that's going to set the precedent, the man of the house, in a lot of ways and stuff. So I just grew up figuring it out, learning how to be resourceful, learning how to be respectful, and so I think that it gave me a good foundation, just to continue to grow up. I realized I still lean back on a lot of those lessons too.
Right. And by you growing up in that single parent environment, did it ever grieve you not having a father around?
But because he was on, like, it didn't grieve me early as I was growing up, and I started to see him where this would have been more beneficial, or how this would have been easier on my mother, or would have had like to have that perspective. I look back and I'm like, it would have been nice, but that's not the way our cards were dealt. You know what I mean? And my mom never raised us to say, she was not, there was no resentment or anything of that nature. So those moments that we did get with our father, we were still close to a lot of people in our family, and as he was going through his journey, it was never resentment. So the times that we did get, you get to see that this is where we get a lot of this talent. Okay, this is, you get to learn parts about yourself. So I always took what I knew that I had and never fantasized about what I didn't have, and that's just how I'm wired and stuff. And so, I mean, honestly, it would have been nice, but some people don't have it, you know what I mean? And I always wanted to be, and still want to be. And it's work, the work that you do is just not made like a victim of your circumstances, be victorious to them. And I've seen God turn it around so many ways, in so many ways, like emotionally, spiritually, financially in some ways. Like, I just trust God a lot. But I definitely always like, okay, it would have been nice, but I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't have. I don't know. That's not my story,
Right, that's
so
good. That's good because
yeah.
a lot of kids when they go through that and stuff like that, they tend to hate the other parent.
Hmm.
And from the sound of it, it sounds like y'all really didn't hate y'all dad. You know what I'm
No.
saying? Y'all kind of seen the I want to say see the purpose out of it, but kind of seen the purpose out of it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But that's great. That's great. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, y'all. That was good right there. But when you started to grow up and realize things, kind of move around a little bit more, what all the
Hmm.
things you was getting into?
Um, so just socially, I've always been one that kind of loved, like, before even playing basketball, putting that in my hands, I was making up those dances, but not just in the house, with friends, learning gifts as far as music and art and storytelling and stuff. I was really into it, but we're from a small town, so we can only see what they show us on TV,
Right.
or you have to just dream a bit. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know
yeah.
what's attainable. You don't know how close you're into it. You don't know how to judge your talent. Like if I had looked in the mirror and put my best routine together, I was ready, if you
Right.
ask me.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
there's no one else, and people are scared of people that actually dream,
Hmm.
and so, but I was a big dreamer, so I was just really into that, like always in my head, always seeing myself outside of basketball. I was into basketball, I was into soccer, anything that I was into, I was
Yeah.
really into it, and that has held true to this day,
Mm.
very intentional. Yeah, those are some of the things that I was into, just the creative aspect outside of the sports. Sports kind of gave it more of a structure, like, okay, I know what I'm doing because this grade, and like there's
Right.
levels, and then there's criteria that you have to do in order to make it. But I say all of these things too, and it's just not fair to make it seem, it's not trying to, but to acknowledge like how incredible, like not just your parents, not just your mom, your dad, your grandmas, but even coaches, and how important it is to be those leaders. Because if I didn't have people, creating these opportunities or helping me, then I wouldn't have been able to do it, to see how far I could go.
Mm.
So a lot of other people, it might have seemed weightless to me, but I had a lot of other people making room and carrying that weight, and stuff of that nature. So every time I get the chance to talk about it, it just takes me back to a place of just gratitude.
Yeah.
Because I mean, challenges since then, like that's just the purity I miss, where I'm just going to dream and I don't have to worry about what someone would say when I actually do it, and what I have to go up against, and how hard it is to just be yourself, as opposed to when you were simply, that was your only job to do.
Right.
And so like when I see that come back around, it's just like I kind of feel made for what I was for, just because I've always had that layer of protection and direction. But it just, God is so good,
Yeah.
He's
No,
so
that
good. He's so
he really
good.
is. He's great. What's
Yeah.
him call it? But where you were living at, was there like any like you going into the wrong crowd and stuff like that? People trying to will you in to do things that they do to kind of distract you and take you off your purpose.
Yeah, I would say like it was there. I wouldn't say they were intentionally trying to reel you in. I feel like I always seen the good in a lot of people,
Oh, that's good.
and not knowing, not having that, like I said, that purity, like I had the awareness, but my memories, like the friends that my mom had and the neighbors that we had, they were seemingly on the same page. Can you go over there and check on the kids? I'm at work for this. It was really a community.
Mm.
And I fell in love with that, because even just recently, I'm at Juneteenth, and I'm, speaking to some people, and I can tell the difference when they're hugging me or they're hugging my mother, just this access to that. And so I grew up, obviously it's there. Even me, I'm not a perfect kid,
Right.
I'm also a middle child. I'm a little curious,
Yeah,
let me
yeah,
see some things or this, that, and then you see the why it's necessary to stay on the straight and narrow. I didn't feel so challenged by that. I had a lot of people in the community, they can look back and tell me, you were different then,
right,
and I
right.
appreciate that. Even when it was clowning, like, what do you got on today, or XYB, but they always saw me, my
Yeah.
quirky side, and I got along, with a
Yeah.
lot of people, boys, girls, parents, like
Wow, that's
I
good.
felt I felt like I really got to like see the value of community, and I was protected from that. But I know it's there,
Right.
and I know that it was, but it never touched me.
Right,
It
right,
never
right.
touched me. Our trouble wasn't really trouble. Our troubles were
Mm.
kids, and let me hurry up before the street lights come on. Or, like I remember where we lived at the edge of the Washington apartments, we weren't supposed to leave the house, and get outside of the house. And you can see on Marlin, you can see from our window when my mom's pulling up, when she turned, where she's coming down the street. So one time she was coming on a little bit early, and Ronald's up there at the park getting shots up. And we're not supposed to be getting shots up. You're not even supposed to be outside. And he had to race home, to get home before she gets in the house. And those were things like that, which could have turned to be bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is a risk. Which is okay. This is why she says, because some people are weird in this world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not going
yeah.
to put it on our community. I can put it on any area.
Right.
At any moment. But it was like those are the things she's protecting us from. And so because she was a bit strict, I'm seeing the purpose and the intention behind it, and it really did protect us like a lot.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is great, and a good thing that you said that I picked up on is that, and a lot of y'all, I hope this didn't go over your head. Seeing good out of bad things or just anything in this world, that's a that's a high level of maturity. That's a great high level of maturity where you can see the good out of the in the bad. You see what I'm saying? Because a lot of
Absolutely.
people can't do that,
Yeah.
And by you doing that, hearing that you was a loving and just a kind person, always smiling, just you just up,
Yeah.
Did anybody ever take that for like how you say that word, like for your weakness? I'm trying to
Oh,
say where
till to this day, to this day. Everyone's like, and it has. There's been periods where it's like, okay, it's made me hard. You know what I mean? And it hurts. It hurts because my most authentic self, it doesn't want to have to be protected. I want to be vulnerable. I don't want to turn into this hard woman that's unapproachable. And because I've been hurt so many times, I want to be around the right people to wear the way my mom, she protected me from the things I didn't see. I want to be around people that are protecting me what I don't see because my purpose and my calling and what I'm called to do, I have to be soft. I have to care about us, and everyone. I know it's like there's no division in my vision, and because we're in such a divisive times, like I know like, okay, there's a reason that I can go all in one night, to the country club, to the Elks Club, to here, to buy, and stop by. It's me the entire time. It's the same outfit the entire time. It's the same length. It's just me. I can show up and be authentically myself. But because of your weakness is sometimes taken for granted, and it's not your weakness. Like I don't take it all personal. There are people that kind of prey on that type of energy. Okay, how
right,
can I take advantage of that? And then guess what? You can't. You absolutely can't. Like I'm God's girl, and He's protected me in so many ways. And it's just like even when it does happen, it's not so that I can say, I told you you couldn't. I'm just get to see how amazing He is and how He works it out every time. I go to Him in frustration, and things of that nature. But I don't. I think that my it's not a weakness; it's a strength to be vulnerable.
yeah,
And I view it as that. And so, yeah, that and tell for that because I believe that way and live that way. I have to use my discernment. I have to stand on business whenever I say something because I know I'm walking in my truth.
right,
And so in doing that, that's more hard. That's more complicated than actually the people that are. And I leave room for grace. There's a lot of times where like they'll come, and if we can kind of get through the grit of the conversation, that little bit of friction, now your perspective has changed a little bit. Now mine has a little bit.
yeah,
I have gotten a little tougher, but not harder,
right, right,
tougher
right.
because I see where you're coming from and why you think you have to be that way, And there's an opportunity for us to connect and collab and things of that nature. So I go to God so much when it
That's
comes to
that's
that,
good. That's
you
good,
know.
and that's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
And by you being who you are, and good at sports and just very athletic and stuff like that, you ever had just people being envious towards you because who you was and just the way you carry yourself and just everything of that nature?
I have, and sometimes they say you can walk in a room, and you're supposed to be in there to enlighten people, but because they're not walking with that same energy, like your light can shine on dark, and if you're being yourself, and people can, when you see someone, they think that you can see directly through them. I'm not looking at what you see, so some of that projection, sometimes it's personal.
Yeah.
I'm walked in here to enlighten you. I'm never here to frighten anybody.
Right, right, right.
And so I don't like that energy. I'm not going to say it in no poetic way. I do not like it. If I can avoid it and all, and if I could avoid it, I wish I could, but I can't. But I do deal with that. I've seen other people deal with it, so now I'm not like, it's just me. I've seen it. This is just the way of the world sometimes. But I am seeing a lot of times where since my mind has changed, since I've gone through some more things in life, I don't know what part of the interview we'll get to that, but a lot of things have shaped my like adverse moments have shaped the way that I think, and so I have a connection, like deeper connected more to myself, I understand like my purpose. I understand things like going back. It helps me go forward, but it's something that you deal with. So yeah, I have to use more discernment. I have to use more awareness. I have to use my language. I have to listen more, and that's part of growing up. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, whatever I don't get right now, I know I'll get it later. I have to trust, and so it's a beautiful thing, though.
Yeah,
It
it
really
really
is
is. It
beautiful.
really
It
is.
really is.
I love that. I love that.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah. Love that what we just talked about. So now, when did you know you was just different?
I would say I'm different in so many ways, but I think my biggest passport has been basketball,
Yeah.
And even when I was really, really good, like I'm one of those that's not going to, if you catch me outside, you're not going to hear me talking about basketball all the time. Like
Right.
I've always just been a person before a player,
Right. Right. Right.
and that's, I think that having to be honest with that, we moved to Midland. I'm going to say I was a freshman in Midland, and I'm growing up under Hobbs Eagle basketball, Ralph Tasker, Brother Ronald, and many other greatness in between and after, before and after, and just coming from that bloodline. And I'll tell you, it's like when we moved to Midland, first of all, I was shook up. I've always dreamed of playing on the boys team here at Hobbs
Right.
High
Right.
School. Like I
Right.
just knew it. I played summer league with that. I
Yeah.
was going to be the first girl to do that. And it wasn't because I didn't want to play for the girls team. That's not where the empowerment was,
Right.
So it's so cool to see how much that has changed. And as a young girl to be someone that they can look up to and want to be a part of what I was,
Right.
and the same people that I got it from the Carolyn Thompsons, to the
Right.
Carolyn Hutchins and all the way down. Shout out and RIP to her. But just so many people that had paved the way prior. And then, so for me to go to Midland and I could say, like, this is where things kind of started shifting.
Mhm.
Not me knowing I was different, me and not knowing my reach, my magnitude, the grasp of anything. I just knew it was a different level.
Yeah.
And I moved to Midland, or I remember my 8th grade year. I'm here in Hobbs. Let's rewind it a little bit, guys. You're taking me back a little bit. Like this is a good test, and it's good to reflect.
Right.
But 8th grade, I remember, and you know this because your sister. Come on, shout out to Wisdom.
Yeah, shout out, sis.
First eighth grader to play varsity in Hobbs High School history.
Right.
All right. And for me to see this is crazy. I was hearing about her before I'd even seen about her. When I seen about her, I was like, I don't play about her,
Right.
And she's got a different,
Yeah.
and it's for me, and I don't see her different. I see her anointing different.
Right.
To do different. It's just something you can't deny. But I remember when I was an 8th grader and they wanted to move me up because I'd already had the experience. I got to travel as a 7th grader and play with some of the varsity tournaments. So when 8th grade comes, and they wanted to move me up here to play, that opportunity wasn't there. They had went to the state, this, that, and the other, or, had some people for it, some people against it. That's where the world was at the time.
Yeah.
But at least they were having the conversation,
Mhm.
That's cool for me. But I didn't know what to compare it to. We're Hobbs. We're the #1 school in New Mexico. Still
Right.
to this day, I don't care. But
Oh, I didn't know that.
Still to this day,
I didn't know
we're the
that.
#1 school. That, like, when you think basketball in New Mexico, I've been all over the world, and I can guarantee you every season I can find someone that knows something about Hobbs Eagle basketball, stuff that I didn't even know.
Wow.
Like we have so much rich history here. It's so beautiful. But in that time, what they did give me, they gave me a no, but then they gave me a yes to play 9th grade basketball. So I'm at Heiser as an 8th grader playing 9th grade. So that's the big story. I don't know how big. I don't have a cell phone. We don't have social media.
Right.
I'm used to playing up and with co-ed and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So this is awesome because some of my friends play 9th grade. Cool.
Yeah.
And then shout out, it sounds like, okay, cool, no big deal. But I also think that we can do a better job with media coverage, with uplifting each other when people are doing well, to go ahead and know that it's okay to elevate them and to speak it and the importance of it.
Right.
Because when you get the media out there, it just doesn't go locally. This can change the trajectory of my entire life. So many things are political. So if they see that you have this following or if you have this,
Yes.
Effect or impact, they're going to want that.
Right.
But if you're keeping it here, and you're keeping people, holding them down because you can only see them from your level of perception, then you're not really perceiving things the way God wants you to.
Right.
We all have different levels, but at the time I didn't know that, but I was very grateful to play 9th grade. I loved Coach Terry Blevins. She was going to be my coach and was, but then I averaged 40, 44, 46 points a game.
Your first game?
all the games. 50
Oh,
sometimes. That day 36. Like,
wow,
I mean,
wow,
it was
wow.
beautiful, you know?
Yeah,
And that was my story, you know, like, and that was something where I was like, okay, a lot of people are liking this, but I'm with them. I'm liking it too. I'm not feeling
yeah.
like it's me all, you know, like I
Hmm.
wasn't really grasping it. But then when it got different is when, okay, ninth grade year, I moved to Midland. And this is when I kind of have understood the magnitude because they're a little bit more developed in the sports, a little bit more respected, a little
Right.
more equipped with resources to have media that can cover those things. And shout out to the media that we did have or do have, because I could say the radio station and the Hobbs News Sun have always been there to help cover what anything I had going on or off the court. So been grateful for that. But whenever I played, I was the first freshman to play varsity in for Midland Lee freshman.
Wow.
And we had our, you know, maroon, and I think we were silver games that morning before, kind of like we would do black and gold. And I was playing with the freshmen, and the coach had brought me up and said, "We're going to play tonight in the varsity game." I'm not thinking you could say varsity, JV, sophomore, A, B, C, D, E, F. I didn't care. I was
Right.
just playing, like, okay,
Right.
opportunity to hoop, you know. And I wasn't mechanic, like I was just a hooper. I was out here playing, so I was always excited about that. But I knew it was different. Then we make it to playoffs, and I remember getting in the car and telling my mom. She was just like, "Well, how'd the first game go?" You know, and I was like, "I scored 20 or 20 something points," you know, and she just was like really quiet, as she's a very poised lady. But then she hits me with the, you know, "I'm going to be proud of you regardless. You don't have to just kind
Right.
of tell me stories
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
anything, because she don't know either, you know." And I was
Right.
like, okay, well, I'll note that, but that's really what happened.
Hmm.
Then my coach comes knocking on the door, rolling the window down. She's because I'm not, me, I didn't jump in the car saying I did this, I did it. I wasn't sure, but the coach came, someone that's had the experience from talking to college coaches and so forth and so on. She comes to the car and she's just telling my mom how great I'm doing. You know, we got to keep her on track. You know, college coaches, bright future, all of
Hmm.
those things that are very believable coming from the coach other than the daughter, you know? And
Right.
so that's kind of where my mom was like, okay. And I could tell like it's a little bit more seriousness, more family starting to show up at the game. Okay, we're changing our schedule to be able to not just make sure she's there on time, but to be there in support and things of that nature. And I think by the end of the season, we had made the decision to come. She had made the decision. I was just happy to be anywhere, you know. But we
Yeah.
made the decision to come back to Hobbs and be a part of what Ronald's has going on with the Eagles, and had coaches showing up at the house, not helping us move, trying to talk us out of moving and things of that nature. I think we had made it to the playoffs for first time in a lot of time, and I think that's what shifted things because I had scored 40 out of the 50 points in the playoff game.
And this was here.
This was a league freshman
Okay.
playing
Oh.
against, and I'm playing against Erica Valek. I think she went to Lubbock Coronado at the time. She was going to Purdue, and these names, you know, just
Okay. Yeah.
names and stuff. So I'm excited, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like, and ready to play against and show what I can do or my team can do or whatever.
Right.
But I think that's when it kind of shifted. I had some people reaching out, wanting to help, wanted me to play on an AAU team. And at the time, I'd already grown up playing. I was a Lee County Flame. To this day, I'm a Lee County Flame. You know, like
Yeah.
that's with me. You know, but to take my game to another level and what that team kind of exposed me to. You know, they knew that the household that I come from, my mom would always give what she could, and it was honest and enough. You know, it was honest and
Right.
enough. There were always other people that kind of met to afford me to play in tournaments, to get that exposure, to and play on teammates that are that girl in their regards and their own respect. So I was able to. That's whenever and even then, even that they were their own, I was still different. You know,
Yeah.
like I was still it was very different. If I'm getting on the court, you're going to see a lot more college coaches around, you know, and it wasn't just because I could hoop. I was good on the bench. You know what I mean? Well, the time, this sounds bad, but it's so true. I didn't spend a lot of time on the bench. I didn't spend a lot
Hey,
of
you
time
gotta
on
be
the
real
bench.
though.
You know, like I
Yeah.
just did it. And you know, but when I was on there, I was like, come on, let's start a chant, you know, let's go. I was
Right.
the
Right.
loudest one, like, let's go, making up name or songs and cheers and stuff. So I think like it became, not only was it, I could see that I was different, and that's when college letters are starting to come in, you know, and that's, you know, like I'm just getting a little bit more and more in. I think that that's that positive reinforcement for the hard work, you know,
Right.
seeing how proud it's making my mother, see having my brother, that's someone that's so locked in, like he's locked in. I think, and I say this, if Ronald didn't play basketball, I'm so curious what I would have done. because I'm so locked, because I liked a lot of other things, but I'm
Right.
like, he's setting the kind of bar, like, he don't lose any sprints, so I'm not going to lose any sprints. I probably would have lost a lot of sprints just because if I would,
Wow.
no, not to say I wasn't working hard, but it didn't mean as much. But I'm so happy that I had that, because then I ended up taking more pride, seeing what he was saying, maybe not in real time,
Yeah.
but on time for sure,
Well, no, shout out
Yeah.
Ronald for being just not only
Yeah.
a brother but a great role model.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because
He
a
is.
lot of big brothers or sisters don't do that, where they can be able to help their younger siblings. You see what I'm
Yep.
saying? So no, that's good. I like
That's
that.
really good. He's a good great big brother, role model and all these things, but just
Yeah.
big brother, period.
Right.
And I always had him to lean on for basketball, but then I had my sister there just for morale, if a different perspective. She loves basketball. She played her,
Right.
herself, and she had game to her and everything, but she had such a vision and such a language, and so much, to where a middle child like me, and with a calling like I have, I couldn't have been sandwiched in between like two greater siblings.
That's good.
Shout out to Tammy, Mama Ross.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
real good.
But I think that's where it became different. And I mean, and it stayed different on every level. So there's different criteria. Anytime I go into something new, I come in as a rookie, but not the rookie that's just like, oh, I got to learn everything. No, the one you don't want to take your spot because you can see her,
Right.
and has talent. So,
Wow, that's good.
yeah.
That's real good. Yes, and stemming off that great story, and more. But when did your life started to change? Out of all that we talked about, when did your life just you seen a big change?
I think my first huge shift was winning that state championship. No, I would actually have to say this, to be honest. Junior year, losing that state championship.
Yeah.
I think that kind of changed. It was humbling. We weren't supposed. We had the best record in the state, but losing that kind of put something in me. Put that chip on my shoulder that I needed. I'm very positive. A lot of coaches like coaching me because I can go to the next play. Like, okay, here's a positive. Here we can pivot and do this way. But that changed me. My junior year, when I'm getting this opportunity to play with these AAU teams, and I'm traveling, and I'm not putting in the work with my team here that I'm trying to win state with. That's my goal.
Yeah.
First ever women's, girls history. And so losing that, I realized that I had to make some changes. And I remember not being media trained, just wanting to be myself. I go up there into the conference, into the press conference afterwards, and I'm like, okay, I'm not thinking of the outlets where this can go, and I'm actually glad I wasn't,
Yeah.
But I usually people do kind of have that support.
Right.
So, but anyways, as I was going into like that conference or whatever, I'm still adrenaline running. I can't believe we just lost the game. I
Yeah.
literally got a message today on Instagram about what I thought my team could have done different against Gallup, before,
Yeah.
and what I could have done different against Gallup. I already know everyone's still mad I sat out a quarter and a half, but they don't understand what I did. I went after a steal that I had already been told not to go after,
Right.
a few times in practice.
Right,
So you're
right,
trying
right.
to make a point, but this ain't the time, buddy.
Right.
But you're not completely wrong, and things
Yeah.
of that nature. And I'm instinctive. So sometimes, like, a lot of the things that I do good, those are coming from the same instincts of the things that I didn't listen in this time.
Okay.
I think I needed to get that out.
Right.
I think I still felt some way.
Yeah.
But I was leaving that game. It's so funny because shout out to Gallup. Like, they worked incredibly hard. I was impressed by the amount of people that they had, the fan base that they had brought in. They were tough, and very deserving. But it did leave something in me. So I go into that press conference. They were like, so what do you think about the game? And I didn't want to talk about that game. I was like, and I said that too. I was like, I'm not too concerned with this loss. I'm already celebrating the win for next year.
Right.
So now I gave him the whole state locker room material that we're coming to win next year.
Yeah.
But what I did, I didn't just say it. I played in 90-something sanctioned games with my team. I'm going to every team camp. Instead of getting mad that someone's not catching a no-look pass that I learned somewhere else. Well, why are you throwing a no-look pass? Stop, just make the simple one. Appreciating the little things that make a team better. And it made me a better person. It matured me. It got me more prepared to go to the next level. And so that's when that shift came when we won the state. It was a big a big thing, a huge
Yeah.
thing, you know, but then it was something that I could leave with and go to the next level. So after going through the recruiting process, getting to learn, getting to see other schools, getting to, and even that process alone, it wasn't like, okay, now this, I'm having to learn being a better student, having to go to, now I'm having to even go night classes sometimes because I took these classes for granted early on, and having to learn all of those, just a lot of things, you know, what it takes to get there. So when I get there to TCU, that was the biggest pivotal part of my career, you know, life. I was very intentional about going somewhere where I could still get home, you know, like I didn't want to go to New Mexico for a while. For a long time I did, but I felt I was being called more to TCU. I felt like they were on the brink of greatness. I've always
Right.
wanted to be a part of something that can be impactful and add to the change, not just be another name in the history book. Excuse me.
No, you good.
Or not just, you know, come in and it's already, I want to come here and build with something. And then I had all my family, a lot of them rooted right here in Hobbs, in Dallas, you know, they were going to be able to get to my game. So now we're building a relationship. I'm having my cousins that I didn't even know hanging over the rails talking about, don't let that girl hold you. Don't
Right,
let that girl cross you.
right.
I've never had access, that kind of energy poured into
Yeah.
me while I'm hooping here. So now I'm like, not letting that girl hold me, not letting that girl cross me. But then it's also giving them something to do. And even my aunt told me that recently, she was like, you gave us something to brag about. And I was like, y'all gave me something to brag about, because
Right.
family is, there's no price on it, you know?
Yeah.
So being able to be there, I can even tell you stories from whenever my grandpa, you know, when he grew up in Fort Worth, wanting to go to TCU, well, wasn't, and they weren't allowing blacks into the institution at the time.
Yeah.
But fast forward now, where the world has grown and times have changed, he comes to my Hall of Fame. Fast forward, you know, we ended up doing some more good things. But he comes to my Hall of Fame and he's like, you are on $1 billion building.
Look
Your
at
face,
God.
you are painted. Like
That's good.
The work is getting done.
Wow.
You know? And that was intention. That was me listening to my spirit. When we had our black and gold game, everyone was like, you got to go to Baylor. You got to go to or Texas Tech. Your brother, they already had the narrative. They already had this in me, but I'm like, I didn't feel it on my spirit. You know, I didn't feel it on my spirit. And so when I went to TCU, I felt it, I already knew, you know. And so when I came back here, the black and gold game, and now they kind of pick up a hat and say, they put it on and they say, this is the school I'm going to. Whereas me, being me, you know, I grab the mic and everybody's ready. What's the announcement? You know, I was like, well, and they have this is actually a headline in one of the papers. And it's like, and I said, well, are you Raider fans? And everybody's like, woo, you know, let's go, and throwing their guns up.
Yeah.
I still throw them up because Ronald, you know, and many other greats that's come through here, you know. And I was a big, huge, still am Cheryl Swoops fan, you know.
Yeah.
Right here from Brownfield, but everyone's like, woo, throwing it up. And I said, I'm sorry, but I'll be playing for TCU. You know, and I wasn't trying to like got him or run no kind of joke or whatever, but I did.
Right.
But I was just like, I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry, because y'all just didn't see me going anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I seen the things, you know, like to this day, even through my hardest parts at TCU, you know, I think the biggest part at TCU is when I blew out my knee 100%, you know, my second year. And our team, you know, we've beaten number 3 teams in the nation, back to back. Nobody wanted to play us. We're winning conference championships. I'm playing with Sandora Irvin. She went on to be number 3 draft pick. You know, she's bringing her uncle Michael Irvin to the games. And just getting this experience and access to people that are just people, not just players. You know, the way that I've seen it is genuine. And then I ended up blowing my knee out. And I remember it was around Christmas break where it's like Ronald's doing his thing at Texas Tech. So I don't have surgery till January. I can't practice and I don't have school. I was able to come back for a longer period to come to Hobbs. I remember being here for 2 weeks, and this is what we got to do a better job of. When we're up, keep us up. When we're down, pick us up. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like this thing is just like too much of the glitz and they won't root for you, but too much of the struggle and they won't believe in you.
Right.
I don't like that, you know, and I don't like it. I don't, not just for myself, but just like for anybody, you know, like community is so necessary. You never know what you're doing for someone, but in that time period, here I am, you know, like me wondering, I can't believe this happened to me.
Yeah.
This is what happens to other people, not me, you know. And so, so when I was in those 2 weeks, I was like, well, what are you going to do now? You blew me out. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, I'm sitting here with a lot of anxiety because those questions, you know, are really giving, but I'm trying not to snap because I don't know. but I
Right.
know what I was gonna do, and I was like, and I don't. This is where I was like, you got to prove things to yourself, and you got to trust God, and not prove it to other people. But in the midst of that, I was like, I was proving to them what I was gonna do, but I realized it was me and God doing the work, you know.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I'll show you. That next year, I'm a two-time All-American. I'm conference player,
Look at
you know,
God.
conference player of the year. I remember like the doctor was like, you cannot play without your brace, you know. But I'm like, nobody knows your body better than you know your body, type thing, you know.
Yeah.
So I remember we were playing a top 25 team in Wyoming, and I told my coach, I said, I forgot my brace, but I already been practicing with it, and it's holding me back, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's holding me back, and I was like, I forgot my brace, and he's like, you know,
Yeah.
this, that, and the other, and he was like, I was like, you know, I'm gonna be okay. I know I'm gonna be okay. This, that, and the other. So what happens? We play. Not only are we okay, we win. I play great. Everybody's in the locker room. They're celebrating. So I just wanted to show them that I didn't forget my brace. I just actually believed in myself and needed you to, you know? I'm bad.
Oh. Hey.
So sometimes you
Hey.
really got to believe in yourself, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
it's important to get people to believe in you, you know? And
Wow.
now I've like had those kind of moments. I can be transparent. I can look back and I can see why I was a headache, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some ways, but I can see why I'm exactly who I am now, you know? That was the person in me, not the player. The player would have listened. The person in me like knows into myself and can always see like, you know, the intention. So I think that turning my ACL, and just to even say to that, I remember when I tore it, I had to toughen up. I became a better student. I became a better teammate on the bench. You know what I mean? That time I had no choice. I wasn't bluffing. I was on that bench, you know, but I'm still putting energy on the defense. Let's go, getting the team to clap and stuff. But I remember having the surgery and my mom trying to get back, you know, and here's Ronald's getting put through college, you know, his first 2 years. He was a walk on, you know, so we have things where we're just trying to sort it. And mama's still getting it done. I'm still proud of her. But
Yeah.
that's expensive to have a daughter in you know, going to college. Ebony's going to college, preparing herself, but still in high school here. I'm in college. Ronald's in college, you know. So with me, I'm just like, I'm not even thinking how this is going to hurt me. This is going to hurt my mom, you know. And I want her to know that I'm okay, because I don't want you worrying about these things. So when I had the surgery, she's sitting here trying to figure out what she can do and to get here and stuff. And I know what's going on. It's no different whenever I wanted to go to camps growing up. And this just brings me like this kind of brings me to a place where like he'll put you in the room to read the room before you feed the room. Like of course I wanted to go to camps growing up.
Yeah.
I couldn't, but now I throw camps and kids can. Now I'm feeding the community. I'm giving things, opportunities that I didn't necessarily have,
Wow.
you know, and a lot of different things, you know. And so like whenever I wanted her to come, I was just I was just like, I can't put that on her. And I didn't. I was like, Mom, we got plenty of doctors. We got help. They're going to pick me up in a golf cart to get me here. There, you really don't have to come. The surgery's not that bad. Whew, that surgery was painful. That surgery was bad. Mom, how you doing? I'm doing good. You know, like taking it in, like, you know,
Yeah.
but I didn't want that. And I bounced back, you know, and she was like, you were good. And I was like, I was good. I just had to go through a little bit of pain, you know,
Right. Right.
so that we
Right.
can all be, you know, and
Wow,
stuff like
man,
that.
that's a great thing. That's good that you didn't really fall into like a great and a deep depression
Hmm.
or oppression.
Yeah,
You see
but
what
it
I'm
was,
saying?
yeah. It was depressing though. Like when I got the initial news, like, and I was very much, when I'm sorry this happened to you, and I was hug me, I was soaking, milking it,
Yeah.
because it didn't feel good. But I had so many people like that were like, you got this, and you got it, and even too, like Hobbs, I feel like whenever I was making it back, they don't know that they're like, what are you gonna do now? Because I didn't either. We haven't, no one's been or had the access to someone like me that's been through it. So these are valid questions. They just get to come to the direct source.
Yeah.
So when I started turning it around, the energy started turning around too. And they're like, let's go. How's rehab going? Now I'm giving them energy. Like, it's so much better. This day I only had, you know, this much extension. Now it's fully extended, giving them little things to celebrate instead of the whole big picture, you know?
Right.
So it's a lot of lessons learned in that and blessings in that.
Wow. That,
Yeah.
and man, that is great. That is real great. And yeah, y'all. Yeah, no, that was great though. But this is one of my favorite parts. You know, because if y'all really watching and really listening, y'all see the steps throughout her life. And then with this step right here, this last step, this be the best one. So what have how to put the word this? What are all the great things that God has blessed you with and all the things that you are doing now?
I would say genuine love, you know, and that's not like genuine is something I didn't even realize um, how much value it had on it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the things that I've done now has put me at the top of the level, has put me in so many rooms with so many people that I'm just amazed with the work that they've done, their stories and everything. And I just love that I can get in those rooms, and because I'm rooted in genuine love and community and like it wasn't given to me. Um, I'm like, I can get in that room and just be like, okay, I'm not in here because of who I know. I'm in here because of who I am. I trust that, and not only, so I get to know, like, okay, but with that being said, what is my purpose in here? And just being rooted in genuine love and community. And I was given that too. I say, to come full circle, I think like the biggest thing has been for me is this loss and understanding, like, grief and having that care capacity for people. I've always said I don't want to be remembered as an athlete. Okay, if you want to remember me for that, that's great, but that's not the essence of who I completely am. When I think about my work, I don't think about what I've done on the court. I think about my entire body of work, whether it's been philanthropy, whether it's been styling or creativity, which we can touch on how that's come full circle.
Yeah.
But I'm rooted in so many things that the work that I'm doing, I can trust that I'll be remembered as the philanthropist that I want to be remembered as,
Right.
and but how I can always tie that in together, and how, I've learned a lot of different things. So I will say, like, after I played, I went on to play WNBA. That was a great experience. I played in the Western Conference Finals and won. I look back and I'm like, dang, the inclination of women's basketball right now, I'm seeing everything that they've done. And I've seen some people, with a longer list of accolades than me that ain't done some of the things that I've done, and
Wow.
it's because I'm like, man, and the moments that I was in that moment, like I'm thinking in my head, like I'm just being a sponge,
Yeah.
I'm not like, I'm just being a sponge, like it was always my goal to get to the WNBA, but I look back and I was like, the kind of things that I thought about when it was coming to WNBA, it was commercials, it was campaigns, it was red car, it was just all the what came with it,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm not talking clout, and I'm not talking exposure and things of that nature. I'm talking about the things that I genuinely love, and
Right.
so I got to like have those experiences, go and play in the finals, get that experience, and be on the bench around some of, and on the court too, in a lot of ways. And I always feel like I would tell people all the time, like, I'm like, sometimes I didn't get in that game, but I knew exactly what I did at practice yesterday, and they
Right.
do too. Like, and that's not for people to know. That's just for me to know, like, I compete and I can excel at the highest level,
Yeah.
regardless of what it looks like on a anywhere, And so that was like something huge. But then I would go on to play 10 years professionally. I think back of all of the different people I met in different countries, all the different language that I met, all the different foods that I tried, all the different museums, all the different history that I've learned from different countries. And I take that and I try to bring it back, and do bring it back in a lot of ways. I
Yeah.
got clips where I go back all the time, and I have a digital diary, all the things from content, and I call it digital property, too,
Yeah.
because that's going to come back, and it's going to be very useful. But I'm talking to kids, teaching them how to say "what's up" in Polish. So I'm like, I'm going to say "Siemano," and y'all say "Siemano." I send that back to my friends in Poland, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it'd be the littlest things,
Wow,
yo.
that's
It'd
great.
be the
That is real
littlest
great.
things, So to go play 10 years, to come back and make the decision to, just to retire. It was very intentional. My mom had been diagnosed with cancer in 2018.
Mm.
Ronald had moved back. He was still within reach right there at Texas Tech. My
Yeah.
sister was here helping. We all huddled up and was going to do whatever we had to do,
Yeah.
and so that kind of changed the trajectory of some things, but then also too, it gave us an opportunity to connect to the community
Mm.
for them, and a lot of them, these are their words, not mine, because I want to keep going back and forth with this love. I don't want to ever get tired of giving or getting it, what I
Right.
mean? And so the community really wrapped their arms around us. I got to see how loved we are, and it felt so good, and it still does, like it's kind of put like it's just watered my roots, the way
Yeah.
they needed to be watered for me to grow. And sometimes you don't see everything that's happening in real time, but I just know it's all, it's just all connected, and it's going to happen in the time that it's supposed to.
Yes.
But I've since then, unfortunately, she did transition, and it has been a hard journey with the grief period, but I've been around so many other people, and I see, I just get to talk and kind of get that out, and it can be a part of my story that can help other people aside from what I did before I went into the game. What did you say? No, this is real life,
Yeah.
situation. And so that was a huge test. But then also too was like God doesn't take, like he doesn't waste pain. So whenever I was going through that, I was also getting an opportunity to go and be the face of a global nonprofit organization that was a startup, and get to be a philanthropist finally,
Yeah.
And I prayed for that. It wasn't like, okay, now I'm going to go do that. No, I was 3 nights, like going to sleep, sad that I'm not in seeing her in dreams, or having that feeling that my aunt or my cousins or siblings or friends may be feeling. And I just learned to kind of like just let it come. And as it
Right.
did, I went into corporate philanthropy. I learned a lot about that, how to make the money go round, to give it. And like I sat on webinars and heard people that had very different walks of life, backgrounds and experiences. And I'm like, whoa, like it's a lot more to it, and nobody does it alone. And I sure don't, a lot of, I say but I'm usually lowercase I,
Yeah.
like I can't do this without, and nor do I want to without, the support of others and the people that are, in their purpose, whether
Yeah.
with me, not just people. Like it's like I want to be aligned with purposes, not people, because then I know we're going in the right direction, But since then, like in 2020 happened, then I started right then and there. I'm like, I got time, a time that I've never had before. And boy, what a time to have time.
Yeah.
Because you got to learn right now,
Yeah.
And I'm getting to see things that I was just like, wow, where was I? Oh, that's when you were overseas. That's when you were, I get to see what I was connected to, being grateful for, but then I also got to see what I was disconnected
Yeah.
from in some way. So I got to learn and do some stuff. And I realized, I was like, you know what? All these things that I can put it in a place now, and I have to. I have to stand. I have to, and not. This is just taking that leap of faith. I took that leap of faith from building with the nonprofit to start something of my own.
Mm.
But it wasn't just like, hey, I'm just going to do it. I flew to Nashville. I figured out some things, got a flight because I knew what table I would sit at if I got to Nashville.
Yeah.
And I get to sit around people that have a lot of experience, like a lot more. I was the youngest at that table by 20 years,
Yeah.
and that is just fine with me. And but I was learning so many different things from so many different backgrounds, and they were like, you got encouraging me, and then I go and I make a pitch deck, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this to an investor, and then it's making me answer questions of like, I would have never known this. I was always curious how you start a business, how this runs, how this operates, Then I would see some people with the business. I'm like, no offense, but if they could do it, I could do it. Sometimes
Right.
and I'm like, but wait a minute. If people look at me, then if I can do it, they know they can. And if I can say it, these people may not have been helping me, but I can help them.
Right.
And then people see your help, and then now they're more prone to help because they, it kind of, it's such a gift to give, And so then it started changing my perspective, and I built a company called Style by Studio 33. Underneath and the whole precedence of that is like, I'm number 33. I've always chose that number. I've always been very close to number threes, and I still do it like this because in Europe, when you're a point guard, you say 1, 2, or 3. This is 3.
Oh.
So if you're coming up the court and you say 3 as opposed to 3, you can always tell the difference who played overseas.
And you said that's what they do in Europe?
Yeah.
Oh.
So you're like 1, 2,
2, 3.
3.
Okay.
So I'm like 33. And some people may see these hand gestures and not know, like, that's where it originated from.
Yeah.
From just playing point. But so Studio 33, something I wanted to do was like keep the number, change the game. So though I'm not playing basketball anymore, I'm still making sure I'm coming back, and maybe I'm not giving camps, or will, but if it's not camps, it's still creative opportunities because that to pour into these creative kids. No one pours into my creativity, not knowing that I still know. When I was in the Black History play, I still remember, like, from the narrative position, like, all the words, like, ladies and gentlemen, we the students of Hobbs High School have put together a program we would like to call Tragedy of Triumph, the Black Experience. Please sit back and blase, And I even know when I was Cheryl Swoops, like, hi, my name is Cheryl Swoops. I was born, like, that meant so much to me because that's a part of who I was.
Yeah.
But when I was in Midland and I'm in theater arts, the teacher, come on, I want you to go for this, pushing me because they seen that light in me. When I get to TCU, everyone's like, you're going to TCU, not knowing a big part of that is because they had the fashion major, so I can major in fashion merchandising and tap into parts of myself that, though I'm at school every day, like, okay, girl, what you got on? This, that, and the other. What I'm getting clowned for is what I'm getting paid for now. But I love that energy because, you ain't going to get by your people. Let somebody else say it, and I was like, okay, principle. It all started with the smart comment, but when it's your people, you can crack. When it's love, it was love. And
Yeah.
so, anyways, like turns out like it's just something I've always wanted to do. But then I got into fashion merchandising, and I realized like, wait, and it's because I'm having the exposure to it. If I'd have known this is how it all worked, probably would have did it all, but that's going to give you a little at a time. So then I get access and I start seeing like shadowing sideline reporters, getting to go to Mavs games on the truck, seeing all of the buttons and the equipment and how teams work together behind the scene, like that always did something to me. And then I get opportunities to sideline report at the football games. And this was always a part of my career. It was like I was building this duo career, but everybody only wanted to see basketball because that's the box I was in.
Yeah.
To them,
Yeah.
For me, never was in a box.
Right.
I don't even know what they look like. Only the little squares on Instagram are shaped like one, and so I could put as much in those. But that's the only box I know.
Right.
And so like it's so crazy because in parallel, you're not really seeing how it's all aligning.
Mm-hmm.
And now I trust that it is, and so. I got a lot of production and broadcasting experience. I did some shows where cameras came in, and this was before NILs and social media, but I had all camera crew following me around called A Day in the Life with Adrian Ross that aired throughout the West Coast, and they're playing at the conference tournaments. I'm walking around conference tournaments in Vegas. Everyone's like, I seen your show.
Wow, that is great.
And then the show, they were like, well, what are we going to do? Oh, I had a typed up agenda. We're going to talk. We're going to come meet my roommate. We're going to show you my place. We're going to go to my practice. We're going to go speak to kids. I coordinated the time that we came in and talked to the kids and things of that nature. And fast forward, like these are all things like now it's coming back and it's like, okay, maybe we didn't have NIL or all these things in place or social media, but I'm glad that we didn't, because now I can come and have that experience without, and now provide authentic or something that's not cookie cut. I had to create what that looks like for myself.
Right.
And I was myself, so I can encourage others to be themselves. But basically what my company is and what I do is just a lot of creative projects that represent exactly what I've said. I've been hired to do creative direct fashion shows. It all started with styling first, and I was just using what I had, big thrifter. When I was back in Hobbs in 2018 and 19, I'm clearing out Salvation Army. I'm clearing out, just all the thrift stores around here, and styling and wearing it different ways. And then once I started I was doing reels and things of that nature on social media 2020. Now people are like, I get an inquiry, and I'm getting this, and I'm like, but I don't have a business just yet, I wasn't even thinking about having one. I have my salary job, And I was like, okay, well, maybe I can talk to the founder about doing types of projects that gear towards clothes, because the cool thing about this is these are all thrifted. This outfit I have on that people are going crazy over is literally $5, I had to grow up being creative and not being able to afford these, a lot of stuff. So now I'm like, I can show these kids, my message can be that you don't have to have all that to be all of that,
Right.
The thrifting and how you can take one shirt and realize that I'm having a gift instead of saying, here's the 5 shirts in 5 different colors, whereas opposed to taking one shirt and saying, here's 5 different ways to wear it. Here are some details that you can add if you want to dress it up, if you want to dress it down, or language. When I talk to my clients, I'm like, here's an outfit. What are you married to? Like, what stays? The pants. Okay, this goes. Okay, choose a color, breaking it down, And then the next thing you know, it evolves, and I'm doing media days for TCU, so you go, and a lot of times you don't know, but the pictures that you've seen on the posters, on the billboards, that was my team that did it, Studio 33. And the coolest part to that is that 7 people on the team out of the 11 on the creative team were from Hobbs. I got to show them what a wardrobe assistant is, what a set designer is, and we're on that campus doing something and bringing something back that I kind of wish we could have when I was there. And then God was showing me, you're still here,
Oh, man. That is great.
So we've done that for LSU. We've done that, had the opportunity to do it for LSU during the year that they won their championship.
Wow.
That was in Dallas. At the time, I'm in my studio in Dallas, and I've been hired by a brand and sponsored by WNBA to do a fashion show.
Yes.
I had young girls from Hobbs Wisdom walking the fashion show. But then you go and you look at the whole cast of it, and Addie and many people, Key, we had Zoe. My whole thing was like making it multi-generational and using there was other designers who designed beautiful lines that they wore, but for my line we wore thrifted clothes, but it was
Right.
styling. And I told them I want y'all to go out there on that
Yes.
runway, and I want it like a pep rally, give that energy. I don't want to feel like, oh, I didn't practice my catwalk. No, you don't got to practice. You just got to be yourself, and bring energy. And so
Yeah.
that was a great opportunity. And so
I
I just
remember
do
that
stuff
show.
like,
Yeah, I remember that show.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
it's
I
like, and
love that
that's what I
show. Yeah.
love to do. And I'm trying to bring it, not trying, I want to bring more of the creativity back here too, because we're starting to get, even what you're doing, like, let's take a moment real quick. I hate to get off this, and I get like what you're doing. There's such a big place for that, representation wise, but it's like, it's just, you're turning it on and you're getting it done. A lot of people
Right.
have ideas, but not a
Right.
lot of them are executing. And this is something where I have no problem coming and sharing. I trust the place that you're putting it. I love how much you keep God, first, your music that you put out and stuff like that. Like, I'll hear it sometimes and I'm like, I'm gonna use this. I've had creative ideas, and I get motivated from it. So I don't know what God's doing, but I know like this is a step in the right direction.
Yes.
And I'm figuring it out. I'm learning, guys. You know what I mean? It's awesome.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it, man, and I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, y'all, man, I hope y'all was really listening so y'all can grow out of this. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of y'all, not only young women, but also young men, may be going through the same thing she went through. You see what I'm saying? And you can get a whole lot of things out of this. I mean, creativity, love, and maturity. A whole bunch. And man, I hope y'all, if you watch it the first time, watch it again. You know what I'm saying? You might have missed something, you know? And I advise y'all to do that, really. And before we end it off, you got any encouraging words you want to say to any young entrepreneur, young women and young men out there?
Um, it's be cliche to keep going, but I mean it in every regard. Like, you're going to get obstacles, you're going to get down on yourself, you're going to learn, and the more that you go, you have to understand how the enemy works. Like, here I am, I could be working on something huge, and he'll test you with the weather. See if you still have the mood to get up there and do it. He'll test you with someone close to you to just that they don't believe in you, and maybe they do so much that they're trying to protect you in a way. Like, there's so, and that's just two instances. It can be because you feel like you need all of that. I'll tell you this: if you don't have it, you don't need it. You got to be resilient. And also too, knowing that rest is a rebellious act. If you want to rebel against something, rest. And do it unapologetically.
I like that right
Because
there. Yeah.
you have to rest, and rest looks different on everyone. Some people can be a nap. Some people can be creating something with no vision to it, just being in the process. It can be going on walks. It can be just doing something for a week that's different. It can be prayer. It can be like, hey, this is usually time I would stress or something of that sort. No, really give it to God. It's going to be a challenge. Just sit there and just trust. And I've seen so many opportunities. I've seen so many things where He just wanted me to do exactly that. So I'm still learning. I'm still growing from people every day, from their walks of life, regardless if it's the same thing. Don't judge. Don't worry about what people think. Really, really trust in yourself and just stay positive. And move in gratitude. Trust the process, be grateful for the process, smile through the process. I'm still learning to do a better job of that, and I'm proud of myself every time I do it. So let's just keep getting it. We're all in this together. Yeah. And then I would say know the difference too. If you do, depending on what level you're in, you have to, a lot of people have not played on a team before, and a lot of times it shows. I could see that.
Right.
You don't necessarily know that if I cut, I got to help defense. I can go for this risk because I have someone behind me. That's not always the case. So sometimes you have to use that awareness and know the difference between who has their hand in the huddle and their hand out in the huddle. If that hand's out in the huddle and they're just taking, you have to be able to handle that. And not everything has to be it doesn't have to be. Sometimes they don't know what they're taking, if they're taking or whatnot, but you definitely need to know the difference if you're meant to be a leader and going after your dreams. And don't be afraid to follow other people's dreams with them too. Sometimes, like, for example, I have a big vision. If I come to you, it's because I trust you probably more than myself.
Right. Yeah. No. But yeah, man, this has been good. And if you coming from a small town, Man, don't, because I'm gonna give honor where it's due. Because what her and her brother did, not only her and her brother, but what her family did, man, it's a great thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want to feel like, hey, like I don't want to not denounce anybody else that did something out of the city, but to me, y'all did the biggest things out of the city to me. This is me, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not denouncing anybody else, you know what I'm saying? I'm not denouncing anybody else, but just great things and stuff like that of what I saw and stuff like that has been very great. So, and then all the things that you have seen and all the things that you are doing and all the projects that you talk to me about that you're doing coming from a place like this, that's great. So, if you come from a small town, don't give up.
at
Trust
all.
God and just know, man. Sometimes the process hurt. You know what I'm saying? The sucker gonna hurt, but I'm telling you, when you see that other side, don't let the test. This is coming from one of my teachers. Don't let the test make you lose confidence because there's always, dang, how did he say this? There's life on the other side. I'm gonna put it like that. There's life on the other side. So don't let the test make you lose confidence. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification button. Share it to everybody, whether that be your ex-wife, whether that be your kids, whether that be the girlfriend or the boyfriend you used to date in high school, whether that be your auntie, your auntie, your grandpa, your grandma. No matter who it is, share it. And like I always say, if you watching this, I dropped it. I love you, but Jesus love you more. For sure. Run it up, Rondo. Run it up, Rondo. Run it up, Rondo. Run it up.